Hey, it's Nay, and welcome back to Nay's Little Garden and Home. So today, guys, we have a lot of chatting to do. I want to start really reviewing, and I feel like I've been doing some talking about the 2026 garden. We're in August, okay? Things are winding down. We're losing daylight hours. Fall is rapidly approaching. Does that mean gardening is done for the year? No. I will be planting out my fall crops shortly. I have started a bunch of things. There's videos where I talk about it. I started them in seed trays, but I did not leave them in my house. I simply placed them outdoors and let nature and the beautiful sun do what it do. And I'm here to say not really gonna dive deep into that today, but those crops are looking really nice, like the sprouts. So very exciting. I feel like my glasses are not clear. So I am having insane harvests for me specifically. When it comes to harvesting my tomatoes, peppers, onions, garlic, and now some carrots here and there, I am getting about a third of my basket till almost filling my basket every other to every 2 days. Let me show you something. I just harvested this out of my garden just now. This is today's harvest. Guys, this is all tomatoes today, and I did get all of my onions out of the garden, but at one point the onions were taken over for about, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks, about 3 weeks, because I was only harvesting them as the next snapped. And then I decided at the end, like, time for them to come out because I'm planting out my fall crops, and the bed that the onions were in, I need for my fall crops. Y'all, that is amazing to me. And if I showed you my dining room table right now, it is covered in peppers and tomatoes. A good amount of my onions are done drying, so I did snip off the greens of it, and I'm still leaving them there, maybe just to dry maybe 1 more week, but they do have that dried skin on the exterior. This will be the first year I truly see how long onions last for me. Now, I understand, and I know that there are people out here who will in fact tell you that they stored onions and garlic for all of fall and most of winter, if not all of winter. I just need to do that for myself because I don't have a cellar, okay? I don't have a lot of property. I am gardening on less than 1/8 of an acre. Yeah, my property in its entirety is 1/4 of an acre. So when I show my garden, it might look big, but it's very much so not. And I feel like the average person could garden to some extent in this capacity, to some extent, right? And there's multiple other ways if you have no property to, like, you just have a deck, or if you have a smaller property, or there's different things you can do, different varieties, the most important thing. And so I'm starting to write down already for 2027 the varieties I'm going to grow. Now, what is concerning for me about this is I struggle with limiting myself on varieties when it comes to my tomatoes, because I want to grow less tomatoes, like 10 less tomato plants next year than I did this year, while still giving all of these tomatoes a chance. We have been getting back-to-back rains almost every day. I want to say about 4 to 5 times a week for the last 3 weeks. So some of the tomatoes that I'm harvesting at this point don't even need to be at the 40% breaker point or whatever, because I'm getting some cracking, and I don't want too many things to be cracking. So for example, this looks like a very green tomato, but look, it's blushing here and it's soft right there. So I just harvested it because we're gonna get more rain again. Yeah, so I just don't want it to do bad things. This is a Bonnie Best tomato. I'm gonna just list off a couple of varieties of plants that I grew this year that I really enjoyed that I'll probably grow again. One of them is the Bonnie Best. The Bonnie Best is in my opinion, for where I live in Zone 6, a late season tomato. They're just starting to ripen. And the Bonnie Best is one of the earlier tomatoes I planted out because she's in my polytunnel. These are very market ready tomatoes. They almost all look exactly like this. They're a decent size, right? Not too big, not too small. And they just get beautifully red. And the plant is still pretty healthy. To be fair, all of the plants in my polytunnel look significantly better than the plants not in my polytunnel because of the rain, right? So that's something to know, although some of them will have to come out because I want to plant some of my broccolis and stuff in there because I'm trying to see how long I can keep plants alive to keep harvesting. When you're growing a garden, you want to grow things that have different maturity dates because it helps with the harvesting time. When you see these people on, apps and the internet and stuff, and they're harvesting big tubs of produce all the time and stuff like that, it could feel kind of like you're not getting enough harvest. But really and truly, that is so overwhelming. This right here is overwhelming me, knowing that I have so much downstairs as well. And I've already now made 2 batches. I got the super cubes because I said I was gonna can. I still reserve the right that I could can, of course, but I just didn't want to freeze whole tomatoes again. I still have some from last year, and the problem isn't that I can't make it taste good. Of course I can make it taste good, but it's an hours long process. So I am making the tomato sauce now, right? Like roasting the tomatoes, the onion, the pepper, the garlic, yes, all from my garden. And then getting the skins off after you roast it is so tea. So easy, such a vibe, because you let it cool down just a little bit. And then I get my immersion blender into the pot, immersion blend, add a bunch of chicken stock, some more seasoning, salt, pepper, maybe some Italian seasonings, right? And then I let that cook down for about 2 or so hours on the stove. I did pull out my slow cooker for this last batch, and I just let it run for about 6 hours on high. So I did 4 hours high, and then I put the 4 hours high on again. I put the 4 hours high again, but only left it for 2 hours, and it got nice and thick. And then I put them in the super cube. I let it freeze for about 24 to 36 hours or so, pop them out, put them in a gallon bag, and it's about, I think it's 2 cups per square. So the super cubes per rectangle has 4 rectangles, and I think they're 2 cups each. And I feel like 1 to 2 of those is basically what I'm going to be able to just immediately reach for, put it in a pan, let it defrost. Like that, just, it's going to be much easier, and I'm super excited to fill the freezer that way. It's easier, things are done, and I'll be able to like almost lay them flat versus the tomatoes are all different sizes and stuff like that. I am also going to be attempting some jam/jellies. That might be where I end up attempting to can, because, and then I might freeze some of them. People say that freezer jellies are just fine, and when you let it defrost, it's not like anything weird. So I'm interested in trying that out as well. I am harvesting blackberries, guys. Blackberries are coming off of my bush. I'm gonna buy 2 more, maybe 4 more. I think for the bushes, you want 1 per person in the house minimum. There's 5 people in my house, so I need like 5 blueberry bushes, 5 blackberry bushes, 5 raspberry bushes. Where am I going to put these bushes? I don't know. I will figure it out. But anyway, I won't have enough blackberries this year to do just like a multiple cans of it, but I'll do blackberry and something else jelly. And some of them will have peppers in it because I have spicy peppers that are amazing. Anyway, I digress. You want to have multiple maturity dates. So the cherry tomatoes, first of all, cherry tomatoes is something I would recommend most people start out with if they're gonna grow a tomato, because it yields a lot of tomatoes and it starts yielding quite quickly for a garden, right? So what does that mean? So I just started harvesting like the Summer Sweet Gold and the Bonnie Bests, right? So they're bigger, right? They're, medium size, but it's gonna take almost 3 months, right? To get your first round of tomatoes. And the tomatoes don't all ripen at the same time. So you're gonna get like 1, 2, or 3 at a time. And it's gonna feel like you're mostly taking care of something that's not giving you returns for quite some time, versus the cherry tomatoes, they popping out quick. The variety I'm gonna keep growing, even though it's a hybrid, is in fact the Sun Gold. I know everybody like there's Sun Sugar. There's like other versions of the sun like that they took from the Sun Gold and made better variants, but the Sun Gold produces very quickly. The Patio Choice, it's like a whole series. They have yellow, red. Those also yield extremely fast, and then they keep yielding. Now, the Patio Choice for me did die off a little faster than what is going on with my Sun Gold. I've been harvesting Sun Gold I feel like I started harvesting at the end of June, and it's August, and those same 2 Sun Gold plants are still yielding me. You want to get a little more bougette. The Cream of the Crop series is a vibe for me. As a newer gardener, you might find, and depending on how many you will plant out, you may start getting overwhelmed by the amount of produce you get. The Cream of the Crop series has a plant called the Sparky XSL. That's for extra shelf life. That's something I will probably grow for the next multiple years. It's not as fast as the Sun Gold, but it's still quite quick. But the cherry tomatoes is definitely bigger than the Sun Gold. XSL stands for extra shelf life. So what's really the biggest concern for tomatoes is once you harvest them and you put them on your counter, they don't last a very long time, or even really a decent amount of time, before they can start rotting. Now, that or getting super soft and mushy, maybe getting fruit flies and stuff in your house, all of that. The Sparky XSL stands for extra shelf life, meaning that it actually will stay pretty solid for a longer period of time. I really haven't timed it, but the first round, and this is my first year growing them, did not last before they started getting soft. Since then, I will have them about 7 to 10 days on my counter, and they still haven't gotten soft, and they're still delicious, and then I'll fry them up. So I really haven't let them sit for like 4 weeks to be able to tell you it's gonna last a month on your counter, but they are lasting about a week to 2 weeks on my counter, no issues. Because listen, guys, I'm harvesting as I use things, like I'm making the sauce, I'm making tomatoes in different dishes. The next day I'm collecting more tomatoes. So these are things you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about, okay, I want to harvest, but what am I going to do with the harvest? I suggest you have some ideas of things that you want to do with the harvest and ideas of things that you already consume. Because the biggest thing about gardening is there are 1,000,001 things you can grow and do in your garden, and 1,000,001 ways to grow things in your garden. If you start growing things that you don't typically eat, you're going to find you're going to have waste. Now, that stinks, right? I'm not here to chastise anyone for that. Things happen. However, if you want to minimize the amount of waste that you have coming out of your garden, you want to have things that you need to do. And if you have to throw a bunch of tomatoes in a gallon freezer bag and put them in the freezer till you can figure it out, that is a-okay, okay? The mochi plant is another cherry tomato I want to recommend, although I'm recommending this with a caveat. It is not the same texture as most tomatoes. A lot of tomatoes you bite into are either very like jelly, like juicy, right? Like burst, right, in your mouth, or meaty, right? You have like your paste tomatoes, which is a lot of people use for saucing. So it's like a bite, it's like meaty taste, meaty texture to it. Then you have the mochi. It's a little chewy. Now you're probably like, girl, why would I want to chew a savory taste? I thought it was gonna be more gummy chewy, and I still purchased the seeds. It's not at that type of chewy, but it's still a really good flavor. It is an extremely good flavor, and it's insanely prolific. I must have about 10 sections of anywhere from 4 to 10 tomatoes. It's very intense. It's very intense. I'm just letting you know. If you have smaller space to grow things, and or you don't have the space, like the products or the funds to buy the products yet to grow up, you do not want to be growing a lot of the varieties you're probably going to see people talking about, because some of the most popular tomatoes are in fact indeterminate, which means they just grow and grow and grow. You can get an 8, 9 foot, 10, 11, 12 foot tall tomato plant if you let it. That can get really overwhelming, can cause some rot, can cause some issues, can bring the snails, can bring to the yard, all the things, right? Determinate or semi-determinate and or dwarf tomatoes, those are really what you want to look into. And I feel like outside of a cherry tomato that can get a little out of hand, that might be good for you to grow, those are the ones if I would tell you to try and grow. Dwarf tomatoes still get to a decent size, but decent size that's very manageable. So a dwarf tomato I grew this year that I'm definitely going to grow again is the Summer Sweet Gold. Those tomatoes are about this size to a little bigger, and the plant only got 2, maybe 3 feet tall, and there's about 10 tomatoes on that plant, maybe a little more, and they're that size, and it's not growing anymore. It's actually dying off. A lot of the things are already dying off in my garden, and that segue into the next thing. Your garden is not going to be beautiful probably for the entirety of the growth season. It's probably just not going to, right? You first put it in, everything looks small and tiny. It feels like there's so much space. Don't let it fool you. There is not. Do not cram things too much. The next is the honeymoon phase, a lot of gardeners call it, which is where everything's lush and green and big and pretty and this, that, and the third. Then many things can happen. The life of the plant can run its course, but pests, too much sun, not enough sun, too much rain, not enough rain. It's honestly a lot of things that can go wrong for plants. So the honeymoon phase isn't the longest phase. So right now, my garden doesn't per se look beautiful. However, and or it is pumping out a lot of produce. And that is really what I'm looking for. That is what I'm aiming for. And so I just move according to that, and I accept how it looks. Another cherry tomato real quick, if you're looking more for heirloom type vibes, would be like a cherry tomato, guys, the Rosella. It's like a Rosella cherry tomato. There's apparently 2 different Rosellas. You have a bigger Rosella and then you have a cherry tomato Rosella. I have a few of those in my garden. They are about as prolific as the mochi plant. And the mochi plant, I don't believe you can save the seeds and get the same exact one, like guaranteed. Whereas the Rosella, you can. They're a darker tomato, savory, really good. They don't last as long as the XSL, but they are good. They're really good. Lots of tomatoes. They're a little bit on the smaller side as well, even for a cherry tomato. The bigger slicing tomatoes are amazing. They make really pretty things, like to put on sandwiches, to eat as a... I used to look at people who talk about just eating a tomato like an apple and be like, girl, what? I still don't eat a tomato like an apple, but I will slice it up and eat the tomato with just a little bit of flaky sea salt on it. It's so good when you're growing good varieties. So things like the Casaluto Genovese, which is not a big tomato, but it's a decent sized tomato and it's a very pretty tomato. The Summer Sweet Gold, I'm just telling you like it is. The Brandywine, the Giant Crimson, the Thornsburn Terracotta is definitely my favorite. She has to stay in my garden all the time. The Dr. Witchy's Yellow. I didn't have the best growing season for it this year, and that's something you need to keep in mind. You are not going to have the best growing of the same varieties every single year because things might change. Paul Robeson's really good. The Bread and Salt gets so red and it's so juicy without being too jelly. It's a really good one. Some new ones I'm probably going to grow next year are the Fred's Tie-Dye, Vince's Haze, the Chomata, the Carbon. I'm very interested in the Carbon. Supposedly that might replace my Paul Robeson. I'm going to grow them both next year. The Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye is newer for me. So those are big tomatoes that I'm going to probably grow next year. Paste tomatoes is not something that I sweated a lot at all. I was not a fan. The paste tomatoes varieties that people typically purchase to grow just don't do very well for me. They're very small and I wouldn't eat them raw. Like it didn't seem necessary. However, or I might have found my top two paste tomato varieties, and that is the Bush Roma Supremo and the Inca Jewel, and I have a little bit of an attitude. So the Inca Jewel is easy to find. Renee's Garden keeps it well stocked. The price isn't insane. You get about 25 seeds for about $5, which isn't bad. The Bush Roma Supremo, though, they are huge. I'm going to show you the both of them real quick. They are huge. So this is the Inca Jewel, which is it's a good sized tomato, and you get quite a bit of them. You get a little less of the Bush Roma Supremo, but this is the size of them. The Bush Roma Supremos are huge. If I could grow 10 tomatoes for the rest of my days, the Bush Roma Supremo might be that. Maybe. It would be between these two because I don't think I would need more than one paste tomato variety if I only could grow 10. Because there's like 26 here varieties of tomatoes. So the Inca Jewel would probably beat out the Bush Roma just from how easy it is to get the seeds and how much better pricing it is. And they're very prolific. The Bush Roma Supremos, just huge. They're almost as prolific, but it feels as prolific just because of the sheer size of them. But this is something, it's $5 for 10 seeds. So it's more than double the price per seed than the Inca Jewel, which is a lot of money for seeds. If you need to grow 10 plants of everything you need, right? 10 tomatoes, 10 peppers. Of like the fruit producing one, 10 tomatoes, 10 peppers, 10 eggplants, whatever. Well, that would be an insane amount of eggplants, but you get what I'm saying. You would need to spend money every year, a good amount of money every year just to keep stock of these. But I do really enjoy those two. And I do have a few more seeds for next year. I still cannot find these seeds right now. I got these from Botanical Interest and they're still out of stock. So I'm hoping that they come in stock. I'll probably buy 2 packets and then I'll be good for the next couple years. But it's just these are really good. And I have no issues roasting them and peeling the skin off. And they're very meaty. Of course, this is meatier just because of the sheer size of it. But they both are making good sauce for me. And I wouldn't mind using either or. I have other varieties in my garden. I like them. I have no issues with them. But when looking at it and trying to cut down on the sheer amount of varieties for tomatoes, this is what I've come up with so far. Bush Roma Supremo, Inca Jewel, Thornsburn Terracotta, Giant Crimson, Brandywine, the Southern Strain, Fred's Tie-Dye, Vince's Haze, Mochi, Abraham Lincoln, Chomata, Summer Sweet Gold, Rosella, Carbon, Bonnie Best, Sparky XSL, Sun Gold, Dr. Witchy's Yellow, Casalucha Genovese, Paul Robeson, Bread and Salt, and Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye. That is 21 varieties. because if I'm looking at about 2 plants per thing, I'll probably start 3 or 4 just to be on the safe side, because people also take plants from me to start. I have people who have done it for a couple years now, so I would grow about 4 of each. To put 2 of each in my garden, that's giving me about 40 something plants. I think I have out in my garden about 50 something plants. That's about 10 less. Now, peppers. This is gonna be a little more quick with it. I have no idea what spicy peppers I would grow. We're still messing around with a different few of them, but I think I'm going to grow the the monkey face next year. I missed it this year. I don't mind, I like spice. However, I don't want to feel like I just have the pits of hell in my mouth with no other flavoring. So we actually just tried a pepper yesterday from the garden, and I don't know if it was the Thanos or the Ragnarok or another one, but it was amazing. It was like jerk seasoning in one pepper. It was very nice. The monkey face has a fruity spice. Like, it's really cool to have different spices. So what I'm gonna read off to you is just the sweet peppers I'm gonna grow for next year. The Mylena, I have not grown that yet. It's just a bell pepper. I heard it's just a more improved version, and I believe it because it's from Johnny's. Johnny's is the most expensive seed company that I purchased from personally. However, they have some of the best germination rates, and when it comes to actually growing the plants seem to be the most productive and the some of the easiest to care for. The candy cane chocolate, the Ajvarsky Blot, King of the North. Lesia is one of my favorite peppers of all times. It is amazing. Ozark Giant, Yellow Monster, Marconi Red, Shishito, Arroz con Pollo. Has a mild spice kick to it, but it's very mild. It's really good in rice and chicken. Like, if you put a whole one in your rice, it could really add some flavoring. I do chop up a little pieces and put it with the chicken. It's wonderful. The lipstick, sweet banana, giant Marconi, and Carmen. Those are my peppers. Squash will need to always, winter squash, it will always be in my garden. We really love the butternut / honey nut vibes. They're so good. Now, something grew in my garden. I'm still not sure what this is. I did not plant anything that was supposed to look like this. Now, I grew the tromboncino squash last year, and so when I saw this growing, I was like, this is a tromboncino squash. This, I don't think it is. My tromboncino squashes was my height or taller. Yes, you heard me correct. So this is a small one. This almost looks like a crook neck. I'm gonna eat it. I don't think if it tastes off, I'll stop eating it, but I'm going to eat it because it grew in my garden. I ate like acorns type squashes are going to also grow in my garden. They have different varieties of it, as well as the spaghetti squash. It's not really a winter squash per se, but I am growing it. I have a couple in there. I think having different looks is works too. The acorn-like squash I have in my garden, actually, I'm going to tell you the variety real quick. This is the Gill's Golden Pippin squash. This is all I can imagine is what's in that, or the table acorn squash is what's growing in my garden. If it's this one or that, either one, it is insanely prolific. I have about 6 or 7 growing in my garden right now. And I feel like it's off of one plant. Very intense. I grew this last year. I only got one because of how I put things too close, but I will be growing this next year. This is the Long Island cheese pumpkin. This lasted an insane amount of time in my garden. Like in my pantry. Like, I feel like I cooked it either in February or March. So I harvested at the end of the summer and I had it. Like, it was insane. So let me know down in the comment section what you're looking at when it comes to 2027 garden. I'm definitely interested. Are you even thinking about your 2027 garden? The reason I'm doing so is because seeds are on sale right now, or starting to go on sale. I know for my gardener, he has them 50% off. If you're thinking about growing any type of fruits, which I'll do another video on, this would be the time to also plant them, a lot of those things out in the fall for the following year. And if you're getting any trees, now might also be a good time depending on the tree. And you can also, you probably won't get a harvest next year, but the following year you might, depending on the tree. But the best time to plant a tree was about 10 years ago. The second best time is now. So yes, it might be a few years before you get a harvest. And yes, if you plant out any fruit bushes, you're not gonna get a harvest this year, but fruit bushes probably will give you harvest next year. Anyway, let's talk down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching my whole video. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.